exciting times, of course, to get to see the reveal here of some high-level Overwatch 2 gameplay, Matthew. It's going to be Rome, the push map, to start us off.
Yeah, so push is obviously a new game mode for Overwatch in Overwatch 2. It's really kind of like a neutral objective where you have the robot here. He'll push the barricades depending on who controls the objective back and forth. What's really great about this is obviously that there's not many scenarios you can tie. It's also one of the game modes that you kind of find where there's not really kind of an offense and defense, like a hard offense or defense on either side. You're looking at just playing just a kind of completely variable map where sometimes you're on defense, sometimes you're on offense. A lot of just flow to it.
Absolutely. And look, and Space said there's a lot of fighting. It felt like there was a ton of skirmishes going on. A lot of back and forth stuff here. It's going to be 5 versus 5, of course. And we already get to see some of these locks to start things off. We're going to see Bastion straight off the bat, which is great. Also Sombra. So both these two new-look heroes with their reworks are going to be coming out the gates.
Well, also a reminder that there's some of the other changes that were in the PvP stream that are in here as well, right? Reinhardt, when he charges, can control and maneuver himself.
You got that power steering, baby.
Yeah, space coming out of the spawn, right? I know, being able to get right towards that choke and the double fire strike. So some changes there with Reinhardt as we get to the mix. So this is a pretty deadly area of the map, right? A large, long corridor. It's something we usually don't really have like a lot in Overwatch 1. These like massive, long, drawn-out sightlines.
There it is, Bastion on the move. Unreal. We see the biotic grenade thrown in there by Shu. But I mean, the fact that you can move around and have that Gatling gun potential. Now, also the primary fire.
It
it's like
is a bit different.
Bursts, right?
Yeah, it's really good in like long range scenarios. We see here from Kevster's POV, Sombra, right? Used in much more of like an offensive way. Space gets hacked, but you see how fast the abilities come back online, and a nice pin there to take out Closer.
Okay, Space is dirty. Look at the maneuverability that he has. For such a short range charge, he can still connect. So this means that Team 1 are on the road. They're pushing here, and obviously 2, I think TWO is our name for the robot here.
Yeah, so you can see the top of the screen, right? The blue team is in the lead right now, pushing that robot. When the red team gets control of it, it'll kind of move faster back towards the middle. It's really tied to the team's barricade more than anything, is Birdring here on the Junkrat on the flank.
And again, we see a lot of people getting hacked by this Sombra right there, but it's for a brief time that their abilities are unavailable. We saw this one in the preview, I think, and yeah, Space is getting a little bit nutty with it. Getting right into the face there of Mag, and even has an Earth Shadow to spend here. Now, these ultimates don't come as easy, right? You're not getting nearly as much ult charge from damaging tanks.
Well, yes, and I also think one thing you do realize right away is how much more offensive the tanks are, right? Where Space is able to get right up and in that area, and you see Mag there, it's interrupted, and he actually tries to go for a shatter, but it's going to be an EMP from Decay on the other side.
Birdring on the Genji, by the way. Nasty stuff. Assassin's already picked off while Mag sleeps it off, and that's the EMP coming out. But Birdring still has, obviously, the use of the dash so soon after the EMP hits, trying to deal with the aggression from Moth here in Valkyrie.
Yeah, you kind of think of EMP now, right, as like a large 1-second interrupt, and then it's really about Sombra getting the damage benefit after that.
Plus that percent health damage as well, right?
Yes, and trying to actually finish players off. So you see that's a nice hack here onto Moth. As he'll end up falling. So Assassin does have this Bastion ult. We'll see if he's able to get a good use of it. As on the other side, you also see it's going to be Mag with a shatter.
You see in between the barricades, TWO moves quite quickly. So it didn't take long after winning the fight for Team 2 to be back in control of the objective, and now they're starting to move their barricade up.
Just look at this maneuverability. He can control it.
Yeah, he's not ready. The hydraulics are just too insane. Mag finds the shatter, knocks Space on down, looks for Assassin who's sleeping, and Birdring's going to go for the blade here. That's 1, that's 2. And almost getting 50% of it, 40% of an entire team with 1 blade is pretty nice.
Yeah, and I think you can see just how, obviously Overwatch, a very fast-paced game, but in 5v5, just the aggression and fast pace you can play at. And I think it's a great point, right? That we're used to like 2 kills with a Dragon Blade,
here we go.
A fight being for a very long time. Here's the Bastion ult.
Enemy cruise missile en route.
3 spots down here. You see Mag takes a decent amount of that splash damage. Jeff was talking about it earlier, but able to get healed up pretty quick.
We have a Zarya here, though, for Space. Bear in mind, Zarya has 2 bubbles. She can bubble herself twice or a teammate twice, and that shield of Mags just disappears. EMP gets thrown in there. Moth is awfully low as Skew goes for that little sleep dart. See, Assassin is super low, and Skew's showing us a little bit of that Ana. Very nice.
as he's able to keep everybody charged up. And you see one of the ticks on the top of the screen as the red team is approaching it. That's going to be a bit of a checkpoint there for push. So that'll give them a little bit of a forward spawn.
Changes
obviously.
the spawn location.
Yeah, it would be kind of crazy if they had to spawn all the way in the back, you know, to try and get the objective at this point. Also, just to remind people, this is a different version of Zarya. Zarya has the 2 bubbles on a shared cooldown.
The Reaper guy goes in. The sound of the Hellfire shotguns as well, it rattles, right? Especially in that underpass.
It's something that Space talked about, right? You know, graphically, obviously, you know, the new hero looks for a lot of the different heroes in this build, but then also just the weapon sounds. It's one of the things where I think speaking to some of the players who have had some hands-on, they're like, man, the damage just feels so strong. And I think it's because you know, there's the sounds of the guns and everything just feel so much more like violent, right? It feels really like more real, I think, than kind of like Overwatch 1.
Matt, I noticed the sound playing when one of your teammates is eliminated, like what we hear in knockout elimination, or lockout, excuse me. Look at the EMP, look at the percent health damage on Mag. He gets blown to smithereens by Kevster after with the damage increase.
Yeah, and it just makes Sombra like an offensive powerhouse, right? You kind of look at players who play Sombra now, really just trying to play more of a team-oriented game. Now it is just way more of kind of almost like playing a little bit of a Tracer version. So the blue team going to get towards this barrier. You can see now they take the lead at the top of the screen. They are in charge.
That yellow line represents the enemy team's sort of furthest progress, so they can tell when they've sort of gotten ahead. Enemy forward spawn changed there. So with that checkpoint now, that changes obviously where the leading team come from. Yeah, this is scary. That's 1. That's 2. God, the time to kill feels lower. I mean, Birdring is attacking non-tanks, to be fair, but Space also was the first to fall there.
Moth had the rally, but he didn't have it for much longer as Nanoblade, regardless of, you know, 6v6, 3v3, 5v5, whatever you want to play, still so impactful as Space now. See if he can get charged up on this Zarya. Going to have like a Death Blossom plus Grav combination.
Right, TWO is pretty much sat in the middle of the map for the time being, but Team 1 lead with under 2 minutes now left. There's the grab. Pretty nice cleanup. Easier for Space to get a ton of charge individually now. He can be self-sustaining.
You can hear the beam, man, with the Nano. It just sounds so filthy. That'll be a team wipe here for the blue team as they are still in the lead, just trying to get the barricade even further, right, forward their progress, make it even harder for the red team to come back. Some more changes here for the red team, as I'm sure a lot of these players experimented throughout this. As Birdring now over to the Reaper, Mag on the D.Va. So I know a lot of players, just even of the tank role in general, were a little bit kind of worried. They think about D.Va in solo play, but she's so good as like a duelist, like 1v1, that she's able to really be pretty strong.
And we definitely already knew that, right? That was something that she showcased, in Overwatch for quite some time. Birdring, I mean, this is a much more familiar pick for him. Nasty stuff as Space there gets kind of blown up. Again, it was mentioned, I think Space said that tanks feel like sort of bigger DPSs. They also fall just as quickly in some cases now.
Well, I think you can also see how like speed and just verticality is going to end up playing, right? Where Mag is able to get in a position, make a play, but then also use the defense matrix. That is a nice leap there.
Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's dead.
That is a nice leap from Skewed. I'm sure he'll want that one for the highlight reel. It looks like the blue team actually going to try and wrap through the middle of the map. So that's one thing with the objective being really like a neutral objective, is there's a lot of areas to play in the middle of the map that you don't have to circumvent to go play for a static objective like a control or something like that. There's so many different routes you can take because obviously the robot will take long to get back to the barricade. You can take numerous fights in different areas.
There's a sense where you don't necessarily always want to fight around where TWO is,
you
right?
Wouldn't think so.
So these fights are being taken externally to where the robot is.
So we're also getting very close to overtime. 7 seconds on the left. Overtime will trigger because the red team is behind right now with the blue team in the lead. They'll have an opportunity as long as they control this to keep moving the robot forward.
Right, and so there on the score, you can actually see where Team 2 need to get to win the round. You can't draw this really at all, right? Unless TWO never moves, I guess that is one situation.
It'd be difficult, and you'd jinx us if it did.
EMP for 3. TWO just hanging off the barricade. Death Blossom here by Birdring to try and clear some space. Team 2 are moving for the time being, and they're using that to break line of sight, right? Using TWO and the barricade to avoid the damage, but damn, Team 1 got back awfully quick.
Yeah, the barricade gives you a little bit of a space there to be able to move up, almost a little bit like cover, to get in position, and it's going to be the blue team wiping the red team off of robot not pushing the barricade anymore. So that'll end up with the blue team winning, which that's really exciting to see, like the first kind of competitive showing of push. Because I think, it was, BlizzCon 2 years ago, or, I mean, the time just blends in right now, where we saw it played on Toronto. And that was really just kind of like a lot of play tests with, the general public and whatnot. To see the pros play it in like a competitive environment is really interesting. I also think you can kind of see from some of that gameplay, right, is like ultimates are a little bit harder to gain in terms of like, tanks taking, one less tank.
And there are definitely less of them, right?
Yeah, also tanks generating less ultimates, but that also allows you to switch pretty frequently, right? You can play different things at different times and really make an impact by switching heroes at the right time.
I was really impressed by some of these fights being taken away from the objective.
Yeah.
It seems like you'd fight on the objective or just external to it because the maps feel so much bigger, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different routes you can take. We could gush about this for quite a while. We've got to get on with the show, though. Yeah, exactly. I do want to hear, obviously, how the desk has to react to this because, obviously, we've got some ex-pros there, a lot of excitement around Overwatch 2 push. So, Sully and the crew, take it away.